Still Premium Times Elections Live Updates. My name is Chiamaka Okafo, and we're joined in the studio by Barry Andrews. He is the Chief Observer of the European Union Elections Observation Mission here in Nigeria. Good morning, Mr. Andrews.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
You've been here for a while, I think for 2 weeks now.
Well, in fact, our core team have been here since early January. And then long-term observers came in late January. I came with them, and they are deployed across the country. So now we have short-term observers this week. So in total, we have about 100 people who are deployed around the country, and they are sending the information back to us here, and we're preparing a preliminary statement for next month.
Yeah. So you've been around and about, interacting with INEC. And I remember in one of your briefings, you said INEC said it was prepared. And from your interactions, you believe that they are prepared from what they have said. Now, you've seen from deployment this morning, I'm sure you saw deployment this morning, and you've been to a number of polling units. You just came from Zone 4, the LEAs around the area, and you've seen how the voting process is going, the elections are proceeding, and voters doing what they know how to do or what they should be doing. How would you assess, what you're seeing vis-a-vis what INEC said to you when you arrived?
Well, we have been to a number of polling units this morning, myself, and of course our observers are all over the country. So we would be careful to wait until we have patterns come into us to see if any of the things that we might observe in one polling unit is being repeated somewhere else. So there may be a delay perhaps in beginning the voting in one polling unit, but that might be an isolated incident. There might be difficulties with BVAS in one or two polling units, but in general, it's working very well. So we wait until we get a much clearer pattern of how it's going across the country. And then we will also cross-check with other international observation missions. ECOWAS are here, African Union, the Commonwealth Foundation. And of course, there are many thousands of domestic observers based here in Nigeria who are also bringing information in. So that's why we wait until Monday to do our preliminary statement. We'll publish that, we'll do a press conference, and we'll invite the media to come and ask us any questions that may arise. But at this stage, things seem to be, most importantly, very peaceful.
You seem to be so sure that you will be able to put out your interim statement by Monday. Why are you so certain?
Well, we have a methodology that we've used actually 6 times before in Nigeria and many hundreds of times across the world. And so we've always been able to do a preliminary statement, but it is just a preliminary one. And within 3 months after the end of the election, we'll do a final report. And that final report will have conclusions and recommendations. And then perhaps in 2 or 3 years after that, we'll come back and check to see whether there has been a high level of implementation of the recommendations. But we do all this at the invitation of INEC. We do it against criteria that Nigeria has already signed up to and based on what's in Nigerian law. So we have a high level of a very good relationship with the Nigerian authorities, and the recommendations we make are taken in a spirit of partnership, and such criticism as might be there is always seen as constructive criticism.
I'm wondering if the declaration of the winner or not would affect your interim report.
No, it's too early to tell. And at this point, the preliminary statement that will come out on Monday will have regard not just to individual events. We've been here since early January. We have, for example, an election technology analyst. We have press analysts. We have social media analysts, and all of them are feeding in about the entire process, not just what happens on election day, not just what happens on individual polling units. And we'll stay here until early April to complete this process. So we'll be here for the governor elections on the 11th of March. And if there's a second round in the presidential, of course, we'll be here, and certainly I'll be here to continue the observation. So it's a very long process against a very tried and tested methodology and against international criteria that Nigeria has already signed up to.
Can I get a little still into some part of your reports, which will be the pre-election part? How would you rate that part of it? Pre-elections for Nigeria. What will be your assessment of pre-election preparation or processes for Nigeria?
Sure. So we'll be looking at all of the challenges, and we're taking note of issues to do with security, to do with the registration of voters, the collection of PVCs, the technology, the freedom of the media, which is a critical cornerstone of any democracy. And we'll obviously be looking at, we've had excellent engagement with the key political participants. I've met the three main political presidential candidates, and we've had excellent engagement at every level. So, but we will wait till Monday to make our observations known publicly, because there's still a lot to gather in, still a lot of information to gather in, of course, today. And then the collation process at local government level, at state level, and federal level. So we will gather all that information and hopefully in a better position to make those views known by Monday.
Could you wrap up your thoughts to end this session of Premium Times Elections Updates? What would you say to Nigerians, political parties, candidates? Elections are still ongoing, voting is still ongoing, and elections, this process doesn't end until a winner is declared. So, what words do you have for Nigerians and, of course, candidates through this process?
Well, I would echo the sentiments expressed at the signing of the peace accord during the week, that this will be a peaceful day and that Nigerians can go to the polling units in their areas unhindered, that they can exercise their franchise freely, and that is encouraged, especially by the political participants, and that they make that very clear in the way that they conduct themselves during today. So really, that is my core message. We really hope to have a peaceful day, because Nigeria is not just important for the region, but for the whole of Africa. And that's one of the reasons why the European Union invests so much time and expertise into this process.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Andrews. That was Mr. Barry Andrews of the EU Election Observation Mission. He is the chief observer of the mission, and he's been here since early February to monitor the process. And they have over 100 elections observers across the country, and we have heard from him directly. We're hoping that the process will be seamless and peaceful until we have a winner declared by the INEC. Stay tuned. This is Premium Times Elections live updates.